Ça y est, on dirait qu'on est là. Bienvenue, bonjour tout le monde. On vous laisse quelques instants pour vous installer. Hello and welcome everybody. Good evening. We'll give you a little moment to get set up, get your water. This is going to be a live session. It will go by very fast, so you don't want to miss anything. So settle in, make sure the audio is working. Can you hear us okay? Excellent. 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 OK. Donc, c'est un grand plaisir d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. Welcome et bienvenue. My name is Yaro Basama. I'm the Student Life Coordinator with the Office of Student Affairs. My pronouns are he, him. I will also be enabling the live transcription. So you can choose to keep that on or off. And also just to keep in mind that the session is being recorded with the speaker view. So keep that in mind. For the best experience, I also recommend keeping your microphone on mute unless you're speaking. And also, if you want to turn on or off your camera, that is completely up to you. But I'm very excited to be here today with all of you and privileged. This is a session I've been looking forward to all month. And, this is within the context of Black History Month, but I hope that this is something that continues 365 days a year, because these are issues that are ongoing in our society. And we have a power panel for you today. So you might have seen already on the social media and all of the promotions. So I'm very, very excited to be among them and privileged to be hosting this session here today. So before we go further, I'd like to start by just acknowledging the traditional land that we are on. This is a privilege for us. So I think it's important to just note for a second where this event is taking place. No matter where you are, please make sure to do the same. All right. Donc, bonjour à tous et merci d'être venus. I want to welcome everybody in the audience, those that are live and also those that will be watching this a little bit later. As I mentioned, this session is being recorded. Mais on va commencer avec la reconnaissance des territoires. So as we're not all gathered in the same space, we recognize that this land acknowledgement might not be for the territory that you are currently on. We ask that if that is the case, you take the responsibility to acknowledge the traditional territory you are on and the current treaty holders. Nous reconnaissons que de nombreuses nations autochtones ont, avec les territoires sur lesquels les campus de l'Université York sont situés, des relations de longue date qui précèdent l'établissement de l'Université York. Glendon, en tant que partie intégrante de l'Université York, reconnaît sa présence sur les territoires traditionnels de nombreuses nations autochtones. La région, connue comme Toronto, a été préservée par la nation Anishinaabe, la Confédération Haudenosaunee et les Hurons-Wendat. Elle est désormais le foyer d'un grand nombre de communautés autochtones, Inuit et Métis. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon, Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. I encourage you to learn more about and acknowledge the traditional territory that you are on. So I found the website native-land.ca is a good resource for this. So please take the time to do so. All right, so with that being said and out of the way, I'd like to give a little bit of an overview, un petit contexte de ce qui va se passer. For those that are just joining us, welcome. We're just getting started here. So the overview of the event. Today is the power panel, I like to call it. We have alumni who will be sharing their professional experiences with our community. So considering that some of you may be at a point where you're interested in pursuing higher education, we wanted to use this opportunity to get you inspired and give you this opportunity to learn from some of our role models. Additionally, please note that this is an event that's part of an ongoing initiative that is open to high school students, Glendon future students, and current students. So York University established a framework to address anti-Black racism and reflect the community's commitment to social justice. This included a series of meetings with students, staff, and faculty over a long period of time to gather some concrete suggestions for change based on some guiding values. So excellence, progressive approaches, sustainability, social justice, and equity. One of the results of this amazing work is the Black Excellence at York University initiative. So that's Black Excellence at York University, BU. As we say, the goal of this project is really to allow all of our members to be the full version of themselves unapologetically. So we have a panel of people that are doing just that even before this was put in place. So I think you're in great hands. So without further ado, I'm very excited about our panelists. So I would like to introduce them. So I'll ask them each to state their name, their current role, what they studied at Glendon, and which year they graduated. They can do it in the language of their choice. This session is bilingual. Donc, on va parler en anglais, en français. Keep in mind that the live transcription only recognizes the English, so if you see some interesting translation, it's because the AI can't follow the bilingual life at Glendon that we all lead. So I'd like to start with Ryan Ndombasi, and please let me know if I pronounced that correctly. I have a friend with a similar name.
You said it perfectly, which is something that doesn't happen all the time. My name is Ryan Ndombasi. I am you can call me he, him. That is my preferred pronouns. I am someone who graduated at Glendon in 2021, actually. So I'm a recent graduate. I am now a teacher at l'École secondaire catholique Saint-Charles-Garnier in Whitby, teaching history and English, which are the two things I studied here at Glendon. And yeah, I guess that's a little bit about myself, as well as being a content creator. So
excellent. So we got a recent grad here among us. Merci beaucoup, Ryan. Next up, Jenny Matingu.
Bonjour à tous, bonjour à tout le monde. So my name is Jenny Matingu. I graduated Glendon in 2017. I've been working in numerous organizations, but recently been having a job at the Legislative Assembly of Ontario as a liaison officer. And I am here on my own accord. I'm not representing the assembly, just to make that really clear. Yes, in my downtime, I write poetry, and actually working on my first poetry book collection that's supposed to be published in the next few months. So yes, I'm really happy to be here, et merci de m'avoir invité.
No, sure. I'm looking forward to that. Please keep us in the loop. Excellent. On a aussi Kevin Bourne.
Hi, my name is Kevin Bourne. Although I look very young and have a baby face, I graduated back in 2007, so I'm a little bit older. Yeah, so I graduated with a degree in political science. Right now, I own a PR and content marketing firm called Shifter Agency, and I also co-own a media platform called Shifter Magazine, which reports on Black culture, music, film, fashion, all that kind of stuff. So I'm an arts and culture journalist. Do a lot of interviews and whatnot, content creation, all that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Merci beaucoup à vous trois et merci encore d'avoir accepté cette offre de participer et d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui. So thank you again so much for being here. So they have some pretty long bios that hopefully you've had the chance to check out in the promotional materials, or if not, this would be a good chance to get to know them. Look them up after the session. You know, they're all working on some very exciting things. But I'd like to get to know our panelists a little bit more and just set the stage. So you know, we'll be asking the questions in sort of a target language, but feel free to answer in the language of your choice. And for the audience, for your viewing experience, I recommend usually going on speaker view so that whoever is answering a question is going to be live on your screen, and you have less of the mosaic effect of Zoom. So that's just a experience point. But we'll start with a question here that I'll send to all of our panelists to get the ball rolling. So I'd like to take us back to the moment you were in when you were deciding where to go for your post-secondary education. So think about how you came to choose Glendon. You know, what were the key criteria and things that were on your mind at the time to make the decision? You know, how did you know it was a good fit? And who helped you out a little bit? You know, sometimes our parents and our family are a huge influence. Sometimes it's our friends or teachers. So je vais commencer avec toi, Jenny. Quand tu penses un peu à l'époque où tu choisissais Glendon. Quels étaient pour toi les critères les plus importants et qui t'a aidé avec ta sélection?
Oui, bon, en fait, moi, j'ai commencé à Glendon comme une étudiante mature. Ça veut dire que j'avais déjà gradué l'école secondaire pendant, je pense, plus de 2 ans. Et donc, quand j'étais à l'école secondaire à Ottawa, à l'école publique au Maître des Lauriers, je pense que Glendon était venu faire une présentation. Et si je me rappelle bien, je pense que Sophie Gravel même faisait partie du groupe qui était venue faire une présentation et j'étais vraiment tombée amoureuse des espaces verts dans une grande ville, d'être dans un petit campus mais attaché à une grande université. Donc d'avoir la flexibilité, d'avoir un peu comme le meilleur des deux mondes. Et puis malheureusement, par la suite, j'ai été acceptée, malheureusement, j'ai été acceptée en France. Donc je suis repartie pendant 1 an et je suis revenue. Et puis là, j'ai travaillé pendant à peu près 2 ans avant d'essayer de retourner aux études. Et à ce moment-là, quand je faisais mon choix d'université auquel je pouvais postuler ou appliquer, j'ai pensé que Glendon c'était une évidence un peu. Donc, j'avais appliqué à différentes universités, mais à Toronto, c'était Glendon et l'Université de Toronto. Et quand je suis venue faire ma visite, je suis juste tombée amoureuse du campus. Donc, pour moi, c'était vraiment beaucoup dans le visuel. Et puis, la dernière chose qui a vraiment fait la différence, c'est parce que je savais déjà que j'étais intéressée par le hindi. J'avais vu que l'Université York était la seule université en Ontario qui offrait des cours de hindi. Donc, comme j'avais déjà un peu commencé à préparer mon parcours universitaire, pour moi, c'était en fait idéal parce que je pouvais être à Glendon où je parle français et anglais. Je suis francophone, mais ça me permettait de maintenir mon anglais, ce que j'avais un peu peur aussi de perdre, n'étant pas anglophone ou bilingue née. Et puis, j'avais aussi la possibilité d'apprendre une autre langue qui était le hindi, qui me passionnait déjà à ce moment-là. Et donc, c'est un peu tous ces facteurs-là qui font que j'ai choisi Glendon. Et quand je suis arrivée, bien sûr, je suis tombée amoureuse de l'endroit. Donc, j'ai dit non à l'Université de Toronto et je suis restée avec mon choix à Glendon.
Excellent. Merci d'avoir partagé. Love that story. Okay, next up, we got Kevin. What was that situation like for you?
For me, when I was deciding where to go, my original plan was to be a French teacher. That's what I always wanted to be, French or Spanish. And I left high school with like a real love for French and Spanish. Like I did French immersion since I was a kid, and really loved Spanish. So I really kind of came to Glendon with a love for languages. Wanted to be a teacher, and so I felt like Glendon was the best place to help me to become a French and Spanish teacher. And then eventually I changed my program to political science because I wanted to be a political staffer. And again, I continued because I just felt like Glendon would have been the best place to help me to, like, I wanted the bilingual requirements. Like I wanted to do the challenge as someone who was originally Anglophone, first language. I wanted the opportunity to push myself to like do the debates in French and the essays in French. And I felt like that challenge would be the best thing to prepare me for a career, in public administration and policy. So yeah, that's what went to my choice. And also to the size of the campus, it didn't feel overwhelming. I did take classes eventually at both campuses, but I really loved Glendon because it just felt like coming from high school. It felt like it was university. It felt like university, but it still felt like, okay, this is manageable. I didn't feel overwhelmed. It felt kind of like I felt at home on the campus.
Thank you for sharing. Et pour toi, Ryan?
I'm going to say my story in French and English because it just makes more sense that way. Life of a bilingual Glendon student. So as I was actually in high school applying for high school, my thought process, because I went to a French high school, I wanted a post-secondary education in French and in English. I wanted it to be bilingual because I didn't feel fully comfortable in English yet. Et quand je faisais ma recherche, j'ai rencontré une super bonne amie du secondaire appelée Delphine. Et elle m'a dit, hey, essaye Glendon. Parce qu'elle était dans sa première année. She was in her first year and she loved it. Donc, from there, I applied. I got in. J'étais super content. Had no idea where the campus was. So one day when they told me, hey, come do your student card and everything, I tried to come onto campus from the east side, from Durham, came on, got lost on my way here, mais la minute que je suis entré dans le campus, the minute I got into campus, after mixing it up with TFS, the Bob Rumble School for the Deaf, if you don't know, you will know when you go to Glendon. I finally got onto campus and I'm like, whoa, this is beautiful. C'est une super belle place. Et tout le monde était tellement gentil, tellement accueillant, so nice, so sweet. I got to meet a few professors while I was just roaming around the campus trying to find where YH room 100 is. If you guys don't know, it's the big room in the YH hall. And I eventually found it. And on my way there, I figured it out that I really wanted to stay at Glendon. And I thank Delphine every single day I get a chance to see her. I thank her for that experience because it led me to where I am today.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. So I love all those different trajectories of getting to Glendon. A little bit of getting lost in between, but I think that's normal for Glendon. But once you find yourself, like you mentioned, it does become home. I also went to York and ended up taking classes at Glendon, fell in love with the place, and so which is why I'm still here today. So thank you all for kind of getting things warmed up and going. So je vais revenir sur toi, Jenny, pour parler un peu plus de l'expérience même. Une fois que tu as choisi Glendon, tu es là maintenant en tant qu'étudiante. On sait que la vie étudiante a plusieurs défis et peut-être moments parfois peut-être difficiles où on a juste besoin d'aide, besoin de support. Donc, quels étaient peut-être les soutiens que vous avez reçus, que tu as reçus personnellement ou tes collègues, tes camarades au niveau de peut-être la santé, le bien-être ou des finances? Quels étaient peut-être les soutiens qui t'ont aidé le plus dans les buts que tu avais en tant qu'étudiant? Je sais que tu étais devenue présidente du Glendon African Network, par exemple. Donc, on peut peut-être commencer par les services que tu as reçus au niveau académique, santé, bien-être et finances peut-être. Et aussi après, pour commencer l'organisation ou la reprendre, quels étaient ces supports-là pour toi?
Oui, donc et bon, j'ai été présidente très fière d'ailleurs d'avoir été la présidente du GAN, mais ça a été plus tard dans mon cursus universitaire. C'est vrai que quand je suis arrivée, je venais de Montréal et quand j'ai débarqué à Glendon, bon, le campus était beau, mais j'avais raté la Frosh Week. Donc, je suis arrivée, enfin, j'étais arrivée un peu au milieu de la Frosh Week, donc les gens avaient déjà commencé un peu à se connaître et tout ça. Donc, au début, je n'avais pas forcément un grand réseau d'amis. Mais c'est ça qui est bien avec Glendon. The thing about Glendon is that because it's a small campus, it's really easy to connect with people. And I have to say that I'm not sure if she's watching, but if she is, the first person that I met and that truly inspired me was Méliane Etienne, ou Etienne, je ne sais pas comment on dit le nom de famille, mais so she was a very active student at Glendon. I remember meeting her. I think it was in the shuttle going from Glendon to York. And I don't know, there's just something about her. She was a Black young woman, just as I was. And we had a short conversation, but it was enough to kind of see how she was involved. We seemed to have similar things in common, but also we are different people. But it was enough for me to make connection and see in her things that I could also be doing and being involved. And so I think from that it became kind of the template that I could follow, because to me I was like, oh well, she's doing well and she's full of really good energy. So I think that's the thing, if you're able to find that first person that and maybe that person will find you. Mais c'est comme ça que en rentrant en contact avec une personne, je suis introduite à différentes communautés ou à différents groupes. Et j'ai continué à parler avec Méliane et j'ai commencé à voir aussi les différents, comprendre comment est-ce que le campus fonctionnait, comment est-ce que la faculté de Glendon fonctionnait. Je me suis rendu compte qu'il y avait quand même différents, comment on appelle ça encore, différents clubs. Alors, j'ai commencé à m'inscrire au club. Je pense que je m'en rappelle plus. J'ai fait différents clubs. J'ai fait vraiment beaucoup de clubs à Glendon. J'ai aussi beaucoup utilisé les services qui étaient déjà en place, c'est-à-dire quand j'avais des questions financières, j'allais au service financier. Et je prenais vraiment le temps de poser des questions. Quand j'avais des questions au niveau académique, j'allais voir les recteurs ou les personnes en charge de nos départements. And I think it's like removing the fear of asking questions. Parce que pour moi, par exemple, j'ai étudié les études internationales, mais je savais depuis le début que j'avais un intérêt pour l'Inde et l'Asie du Sud, mais ce n'était pas possible de faire, par exemple, une mineure d'une autre faculté, à l'époque en tout cas. Alors, comme je ne prends pas souvent non comme une réponse, I always kind of like find a way, if I'm really into something, I'm trying to find a way to make it work. So anyway, the fact that I was able to go and ask questions really helped me to see how I could like create my own kind of like university path. Et puis, c'est comme ça que j'ai appris que je ne pouvais pas faire le mineur, mais que je pouvais quand même faire un certificat en études sud-asiatiques d'une autre faculté. Et donc, c'est des choses comme ça qui m'ont aidée. Mais je dois dire que le service aussi de... je ne connais pas le nom exactement, mais d'aide pour... c'est le centre de... I think it was the Disability Center or the...
Accessibility, well-being and counseling, something like that?
Yes, that center also really helped in terms of counseling as well. Because after my first year, I realized that I was challenged with some things that I couldn't really put a name on it, and being able to go and speak with a counselor also really helped. And it's just like knowing that those resources are there, or if you don't know, just asking the question really kind of like help me strive for to be better, and also help me to just improve in general. Donc je dirais ça. Et par rapport à mon expérience en tant que présidente du GAN, je pense que déjà d'avoir un sens d'appartenance à une communauté, c'est ce que Glendon te donne, mais en tant qu'étudiant noir, c'est encore plus important de trouver ses pairs au sein de cette communauté, parce que sinon, c'est difficile. Des fois, il y a des expériences qu'on vit qui sont seulement communes aux personnes d'un certain groupe. Et donc, moi, je savais déjà qu'il y avait le GAN, et que le GAN était un point de contact pour les étudiants afro-descendants ou les étudiants africains, si vous voulez. Et puis, c'était quelque chose que j'avais beaucoup aimé. Et finalement, quand je suis partie en échange, quand je suis revenue, on m'a dit que le GAN n'existait plus. Et j'ai trouvé ça que c'était vraiment dommage que ça puisse disparaître. Et c'est comme ça qu'avec mon amie Sarah à l'époque, j'ai décidé, bon, alors s'il n'existe plus, on va le recréer. Et c'est aussi de ne pas des fois se laisser abattre, de savoir que même si quelque chose n'existe pas, on peut poser des questions et décider de créer nous-mêmes un club qui correspond à notre idéologie. Et puis, à Glendon, de trouver le soutien, des fois le soutien financier pour remettre le club, pour commencer le club et tout ça. Donc, voilà, c'est un peu ça mon expérience. Et je suis très contente que le GAN ait repris et continue en fait à fonctionner.
Excellent. That was very inspiring. I appreciate you sharing and touching on all of those points. Je pense que j'aimerais te remercier en tant que membre du personnel maintenant, et je sais que le GAN fait beaucoup de travail pour nos étudiants actuels. Donc, merci de ne pas avoir laissé tomber. Thank you for being persistent and keeping that work up. So, don't go anywhere. I have some more questions for you. We'll circle back. But you mentioned something that I think touches on a big part of today's topic as well, which is about that community experience, right? Informal community as well. So Kevin, I'd like to maybe ask this one here for you, but how was that experience for you, and finding yourself within the Black community? Was that something that played a big role for you, for example?
Kind of, yeah. Like there was a few clubs I joined. Like I think there was like a Christian group or something like that at the time, and so yeah, that helped me a lot because like a lot of people in the Christian group ended up being Black, and a lot of those people are still my friends today, which is funny. Like one of my friends that was in the Christian group at Glendon, he literally like moved to Ottawa a few years after me and lives like 2-3 minutes down the street from me. So I ended up getting a few lifelong friends, and then another girl that was a part of that club ended up going to the same church as me here in Ottawa as well. So I had like a few Glendon friends that I met at clubs that ended up, here in Ottawa. So they've become kind of like my community outside of that. So yeah, just for me joining clubs, that particular club, and even just basketball is kind of where I met people. And the good thing too is like, there's even people that I, having lived in Toronto, there are people that I kind of knew from high school that ended up going there as well, to Glendon, like one person. So there's a few people that I kind of knew, people that were acquaintances that I got to become closer with at Glendon. So yeah, there was quite a few people, and that became like my community, just kind of hanging out in the library with these friends and hanging out in the cafeteria and whatnot. We ended up building some lifelong relationships that I still have today. So
right on. Yeah, I think that idea as well is finding those lifelong friends. And you mentioned you knew some people that started at the same time as you. Did that kind of become your core community, or did you have to kind of go out a little bit and talk to meet people that weren't in your immediate circle? What was that experience sort of like?
I mean, those people pretty much became like, I had like my go-tos. They're like my maybe 2 or 3 friends that I always hung out with. And again, like there was other clubs, like there was like intramural basketball that I got to know a few other people. And then just people from class as well, that we kind of just, you go to the cafeteria after, you hang out, you grab food, and you kind of, those become the people that you kind of gravitate towards. So yeah, those people that I initially met through those clubs like did become my go-to people, but then I also was able to develop some more friendships outside of that as well.
Right on. And so were there some people that maybe played a key sort of role to support you in your academics and the ambitions and pursuits that you had, whether it was just friends, profs, or mentors, in that sense, or what was that experience like?
I remember when I first started, they did like a workshop on time management, and I don't know why, but that stayed with me for like ever. Like that one workshop, and I was like, I didn't think I'd ever be interested in that, but for some reason, like that one workshop on time management, it just stuck with me. Like they encouraged us, yeah, go find a job, because having a job will actually help you to time manage when it comes to your schoolwork and stuff. So yeah, those workshops for some reason, I feel like I still remember the papers they were on, like the actual handouts we got, but those definitely helped me. And even just some of the information I got on bursaries, like usually I would never apply for stuff like that, but we got some good information on bursaries. I applied for a few. I got some that ended up helping me out. So I found that the information that we were provided just from, like I'm not even sure what department it was, but just some of that academic support when it comes to, being a new student, I found that information to be very helpful, definitely.
Right on. Thank you for sharing. And again, stick around because we might have some questions that I'd like to circle back to later. But moving on, you mentioned some things around time management and getting ready for the professional world. So maybe I'll ask this one to someone who just recently joined that labor force in Ryan, and ask you a little bit how you went about developing skills. We saw with Kevin things like workshops. were super helpful, but I know in your experience, you've also, assisted some programs and different opportunities that were able to help you. So what was that journey like in terms of building skills that you could then apply into the labor market and the workforce?
In regards to the competencies such as leadership or anyone that you decide to do or try to learn when you're in university, I would say that there's a three-step program to learning such skills. When, especially at Glendon, especially as a person of color, there are 3 ways that you can really learn them. 2 of them that I did, and I would assume that I did pretty well, and one of them that I suggest to you guys, having learned from my own personal experience. Step 1, try to learn, acknowledge that you may not know everything and be open to learning brand new experiences. To me, even the definition of what it is to be Black or what it is to be African completely changed between my first year and my 4th year, because I was willing to learn from the people around me. I learned from the entire history department. Shout outs to every single professor there. I know that Madame Audrey Pillet is here, and she's one of the many people that helped me learn a lot of these skills in leadership. And while I'm also at it, some of my best friends who I met in the Breezeway, which is the common area that I hope you all get the chance to visit during your time at Glendon. It is a wonderful place, and I learned so much from all my friends that I made there, and I truly lifelong friends, as Kevin was saying. You make those friends here at Glendon. The second thing, in terms of learning competencies and skills, is to take those classes where you are given an apprenticeship, where you are given an opportunity to go out in the real world and try it. Yes, getting a job, 100%, I'm for it. I got a chance to go work at Historica Canada. And for me, comme un historien, comme une personne qui aime l'histoire tellement et qui maintenant a la chance de travailler avec des élèves en histoire, travailler à Historica était vraiment une super belle opportunité pour moi, une opportunité que je tiens à cœur, que je mets sur mon chandail. Je suis vraiment, vraiment fier de ça. J'ai tellement appris de cette opportunité avec eux. Et j'ai même envoyé un courriel à mon superviseur de mon stage. Quand j'ai fini, j'ai dit, s'il te plaît, prends d'autres élèves de Glendon parce que c'est une super belle opportunité. Tu apprends tellement de compétences dans le niveau de travail et quand tu es à Glendon en même temps. My last tip that I'm giving now to students is be involved in your school. Be involved. Do the Glendon African Network. Do the GCSU. Go involve yourself inside your school, because those are other skills that you may really help you, that you're going to learn at some point. I wish I had been more into Glendon, more into doing a lot of these types of activities, because now that I look back on my 4 years and I'm like, wow, I wish I would have been more involved. Like, I went to events, but I didn't forcefully get involved in the creation and the planning of these events. So those are my 3 things. Be humble, learn from your professors and your friends. Deuxièmement, va prendre des cours où tu as des expériences de travail, des ateliers, des choses de ce genre. And finally, finish it off by going out and getting involved inside Glendon, because it's a beautiful experience. It's honestly worthwhile.
Very well said. Thank you. Thank you very much. And so that's the experiential education piece there that I think is vital. But I like to open all these questions up to all our panelists. Maybe I'll return back to you, Jenny. Si tu as quelque chose à rajouter là-dessus.
Oui, en fait, j'ai vraiment... merci Ryan, ce que tu as dit, ça me parle beaucoup. What I wanted to add is definitely I agree with everything that Ryan has mentioned, and especially taking advantage of the fact that you are in a community with people with different expertise. Moi, je sais que ce qui a aussi beaucoup aidé, c'est d'apprendre des professeurs, de créer des liens avec les professeurs qu'on a dans la communauté, de prendre le temps après le cours, d'aller leur poser des questions et juste d'apprendre à les connaître de façon... oui, en dehors du fait que ce soit un professeur et qu'il y a la hiérarchie, mais juste de get to know them on a human level. Et moi, ça m'a beaucoup aidé parce que, par exemple, quand j'ai voulu appliquer pour aller en échange en Inde, j'ai demandé, si je me souviens bien, c'était même professeur Dreyer qui m'avait écrit une de mes lettres, et bonjour professeur Dreyer si vous regardez, qui m'avait écrit une de mes lettres de référence. Quand j'ai voulu appliquer pour être DON, donc chargée des étudiants en résidence, c'était Sophie Gravel qui m'avait écrit une lettre, et c'était une des personnes qui travaillait dans le centre de service de recrutement à Glendon. Je sais que j'étais très impliquée à la galerie Glendon avec Martine Réau, qui m'a aussi écrit une très belle lettre de référence que j'utilise encore aujourd'hui quand j'applique dans certains postes. Mais au-delà de ça, je pense que ce que ça m'a permis aussi, c'est à travers l'expérience que j'ai eue avec Martine, c'est de pouvoir rencontrer des gens. Et je fais maintenant partie d'un conseil d'administration pour une fondation qui se retrouve à Ottawa. Et j'ai commencé en tant qu'étudiante impliquée dans le CA et finalement maintenant à devenir vice-présidente du CA. Donc c'est pour dire qu'il y a vraiment des opportunités un peu partout et comme le disait Ryan, parce que j'étais ouverte à apprendre et se dire vraiment que des fois on doit être comme une éponge. J'ai pu apprendre des skills comme avec le GAN, like how to manage special events, like quand j'ai fait event planning avec les cours que je prenais, je ne sais pas quand on a fait le symposium avec les États-Unis, le consulat américain, like how to involve yourself with protocols and high dignitaries, high foreign dignitaries, par exemple. Donc, je peux citer tellement d'exemples, mais ça, c'est pour quelqu'un qui sait ce qu'il veut faire. Parce que c'est vrai que moi, j'étais quand même assez claire dans les choses que je voulais m'impliquer. Mais il y a aussi des étudiants qui n'ont pas forcément encore une idée claire de ce qu'ils veulent faire. Ils sont encore en train de chercher un peu à la poursuite de leur passion ou de leur intérêt. Et ça commence toujours avec la curiosité, se demander où sont mes centres d'intérêt et d'essayer de marier, en fait, les choses dans lesquelles on est bon, les choses dans lesquelles il y a un intérêt et les choses dans lesquelles il y a une petite passion. Et je voudrais finir en disant que aussi mon travail actuellement, je l'ai eu en utilisant des techniques de méthodologie que j'ai utilisées que j'ai appris à travers le cours de professeur Jean Mancion. Je pense que c'est ça le nom de famille. Jean Mancion, pardon. Et c'était un cours de méthodologie où on apprenait à faire de la recherche en ligne dans comment faire de la recherche pour la dissertation de travaux. Et finalement, j'ai utilisé les méthodes apprises dans ce cours-là pour pouvoir faire des recherches, pour trouver un travail qui me correspondait. Donc, en fait, il y a toujours une possibilité de transférer les connaissances qu'on a apprises dans différents milieux à travers différentes personnes. Donc, en effet, oui, la communauté de Glendon est pleine de ressources qu'on peut utiliser.
Excellent. I really like that addition there. I think it touches on so many of the reasons why we go to university, right? And when you have access, like you're talking about here, to the people within that community that can give you that leverage, right? That experience that you can then use later on. I think that's very important. Kevin, if you had something to add to that, go ahead. But I also wanted to ask you a question about just being within, the Greater Toronto community and in that environment. And you as somebody who enjoys media and culture and that side of things, what was that connection for you? Did you sort of, I've read somewhere in your bio that you really like Toronto. Don't worry, we won't tell out Ottawa and stuff.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
While I was at Glendon?
Yeah.
At that time, I was like, I wasn't as engaged in culture that much. Like, I kind of just came to campus and then, took the trek back home to Mississauga. So I wasn't necessarily going to concerts and stuff as much, like after school and stuff like that. Like every once in a while, I kind of, would stop in a pub here and there with some friends and just kind of enjoy myself. But I did the commute, so I kind of a lot of my time was spent back and forth from the West End to campus.
Yeah, and so to that commuter life or trap sometimes, then we have a lot of students that end up commuting that aren't living on residence or close to campus. Do you have any suggestions or tips and tricks that you would offer to somebody who's kind of in that mode where you're kind of going to class and then going back home? Is that kind of what you should just focus on, or do you have any tips and tricks for somebody like that to enjoy their experience and make the most out of it?
I mean, a lot of my studying was done while commuting, so I spent a lot of time, with my textbooks in hand and my highlighters out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was like one of my main studying times, was just really going back and forth from campus, or even going between main campus and Glendon was like my main kind of studying time. So yeah, to use that time wisely. But at the same time, I also wish, I think, as a commuter, I kind of, I don't think I took in the experience as much as I could have. And I think as a commuter, looking back, I think I would have probably still spent a lot more time at the campus, kind of taking in, student life and whatnot. Sometimes as a commuter, you're thinking, oh, let me just get back home. But I think, it would have been even more beneficial for me to take in that student life and spend more time just on campus, enjoying things, enjoying, the company of friends and whatnot. So, I think people should take the time to enjoy that. But then, when you are commuting, use that time wisely to get some studying in and whatnot.
What about sleeping on that commute?
Oh, I was going to say that, but I was like, maybe I shouldn't be telling students to sleep sleep on the train. But definitely, yeah, there was a lot of sleeping going on. Not necessarily going home, but on the way to campus in the mornings, there was definitely some sleeping happening.
A power nap, right? To
Yeah.
get yourself refreshed. All right, appreciate you sharing that. Before I move on to the next question, Ryan or Jenny, would you like to add to that at all?
There is nothing like a good refreshing nap at 8 a.m. right before class. There's nothing better than it. I was also a commuter, so I spent a lot of time studying on my commute, but I spent a lot of time actually on campus. I was that guy who had class at 9, but I would show up at 8 and I would leave at maybe 4 or 5. Even though my classes finishes at noon, I'd leave at 4 or 5, maybe 6 p.m. because I loved campus life. I loved spending time with people, connecting. And that's where I made like the best friends I've probably ever met in my life. They're wonderful human beings. And I'm sorry if my phone buzzes. It's because our group chat is currently blowing up. They're honestly some of the best people, and they allowed me, and one thing about Glendon I'll say is that they allowed me to feel comfortable in my skin and in my culture, and they wanted to learn more out of a sense of curiosity and love and appreciation for that. And I'm so happy I created those types of friends. They helped me in so many ways. I can't even say it all in one call, but non, il y a c'est d'apprendre des autres. Donc, prenez avantage de cette opportunité pour le faire. C'est tout ce que j'ai ajouté à ça. So, 100% for it. Let's do it. 100%. I agree.
Excellent. Merci beaucoup. Jenny, y avait-il quelque chose? Je vois qu'il nous reste un peu de temps.
Oui, en fait, par rapport à la question, how did you feel connected to Greater Toronto? I have to say that Glendon is like a little paradise, and it's a little bit, but isolated. Well, yeah, it's kind of like a paradise, an island on its own. And so you definitely have to make the effort to leave the island. If not, you're gonna have like island fever for people who know what it is. So you definitely, I know, like for me, I lived on campus and then I also lived outside of campus, and it was a totally different experience. But because I first started as someone who was living on campus, I had already created a connection on campus. And then when I lived outside of a campus, I got to discover like what was the beauty of Toronto as well, and the world outside of the Glendon bubble, which I think it's nice to be able to find a balance between the two. And also because it's nice to be at Glendon, but I think what Glendon is there, it's to give you the skill set so you can also learn to survive in the outside world. And so when you are able to live outside of the campus, you are able to see kind of like how things work outside and how you can like transfer those skills and this create new connections outside of the Glendon bubble. So yeah, it really depends on every person, because some people really like to focus when they're studying and they don't want to be distracted with like too many things outside of the school. So it really goes back to each individual's. I think I will go back to finding balance and definitely finding interest in things that you can do outside of Toronto. There's a great website I know for me, I've used le grand portail de, c'est quoi le portail francophone du Grand Toronto. If I got it right, just gives you a lot of like information on like French speaking activities in the city, which was really useful. And then just looking at the Noire magazine to look at events around Toronto. And then at Glendon and also just at Kiel campus, there's just so many events all the time. So it's really easy to get distracted. But yeah, balance is key.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you for sharing. I can't believe we're almost at the end of time. I can keep this going for a lot longer. So hopefully we'll get to do this again. But as Antoine mentioned, if you have questions for our panelists, feel free to send them. But as we wrap things up, what I'd like for each of you to kind of share and reflect on, kind of as a closing to this extraordinary session. Thank you so much for all the your time that you've put into this, and also the answers that you've been giving. But for the last bit, we'll kind of circle around. You can share maybe your top experience, anecdote kind of from your time at Glendon, or you can share a pro tip or some kind of advice that you would give to somebody who's right now, maybe they could be at any point in their journey. You can pick somebody who's starting, somebody in the middle, somebody at the end, kind of just whatever pro tip that you would like to offer them. Let us know as well where we can find you. So where you're most active, LinkedIn, social media, and what are you excited about? So to make it simple, give us your favorite anecdote from your time at Glendon or a pro tip for a student, and also where can we find you, and what are you excited about? What are some projects coming up for you? So maybe we'll start with you, Kevin, and then Ryan and Jenny.
For me, when I near the end of my time at Glendon, I did an internship. I was in the policy and public administration certificate program. So for me, I did an internship at a nonprofit. And that my big takeaway is just experience. Like I'm like addicted to getting experience. I volunteered like crazy throughout the years, and it's only now afterwards I realized how much experience is available in the world. Like there is so much experience. Like my resume became like crazy just from volunteering. And so for me, like even if you're in your last year or even after you finish, like volunteer, get experience. There's so much experience out there in the world to be had. Even if you have to travel to get it, I think getting experience is huge. Like that's another form of education, like hands-on education. I think people don't take enough advantage of. A lot of the things that I make money off of today came through I learned the skills through volunteering. So I think that is very important. Go out and get experience. And to, I guess, the people who are I guess near the end, like I found for me, the thing that I took, a lot of people ask, is the education useful? And I found for me, like a lot of my careers, like after I finished at Glendon, I ended up being a court reporter and transcriber, taking notes in court proceedings and creating transcripts. And I ended up working French cases. And a lot of the jobs, like pretty much all the jobs I've had since Glendon were all had to do with writing, whether it's as a court reporter and transcriber, whether it was on my time on Parliament Hill, now as a journalist. And I don't know if I would be the writer that I am today without all that writing experience at Glendon. Even just it teaches you how to think. Like I learned how to think, I believe, at Glendon. Like all my again, at my time on Parliament Hill, working in policy, now as a journalist, my ability to like reason and analyze, all that came through my time at Glendon. So there's things you learn, and you may not even fully understand what you're learning until you get out into the workforce, and then you're put in a situation and you start like pulling out these things that you learned at university. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess that's it for now. Was that the only part of the question? What was there a second part? That was
the first part. So thank you for that pro tip, and that is something I definitely noticed in your storyline there. Just using involvement in volunteerism as an opportunity to learn. So that's really key. Mm-hmm. But where can people find you, and what are you excited about next?
Okay, so you can find me on all social media platforms at KB_the_boss_. That's my media personality name. So at KB_the_boss_ on all social media platforms, or at Shifter Magazine on all social media platforms. What am I most excited about? I'm always excited, so it's hard to choose one thing. But I'm excited about, honestly, for me personally, I've been doing a lot more things in the United States. So I'm looking forward to traveling once everything is fully open. I look forward to traveling and doing a lot of coaching. I've been doing a lot more coaching today for people who want to get into the entertainment industry. So I'm excited just to kind of keep going with my coaching practice for people that want to get into media and entertainment. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm just overall excited about everything.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you again so much for being here. Ryan, à toi.
J'ai mes conseils pour n'importe qui vient à Glendon. Get organized. Va t'organiser, prépare-toi, prends des notes, fais ce que tu as à faire en tant qu'un élève. Mais apprécie les personnes, apprécie les petits moments parce que ça passe tellement vite. The moments pass by super, super fast. Appreciate every moment. And finally, this quote is strange, and you'll get it once you get to fourth year. Once you get to your last year, you'll appreciate it and you'll understand. You will enter Glendon as a student and as a part of this university, and you will leave it as part of the family. Tu vas entrer comme un étudiant, tu vas quitter comme un membre de la famille. And once you do, you'll probably think about this moment, tu vas penser à ce moment, and you'll realize I was 100% right. Because that's how you have people like myself, like Kevin, like Jenny. We come back and we love to give back because these people gave us so much. And we want to give you guys these, you new students, you students who are still here at Glendon, an opportunity to learn as well. So appreciate that, appreciate these moments, and you'll be a part of this family. One day you'll wake up and be like, wow, I'm a part of this. In terms of projects, I've got a lot of things in my life. I'm me and my friends, I'm helping some people on YouTube and on this thing. Yeah, on YouTube, and I've also got blogging going on, talking about the culture, hip hop, stuff of the genre, which is really, really cool. You guys can find me on the Rated RN2 on Instagram. I put it in the chat for everyone to go check. You guys can go find me there if you guys ever need me. And Glendon knows that they can always call me if they need me anytime.
Absolutely. Merci énormément. All right, Jenny, take it home.
Well, they said it all. But yes, I agree with everyone. And this sense of family, it's something that just actually never leaves you. I have to say, sometimes I walk around and even just like in my career path, when I hear someone is from Glendon, it's just like, it changes things. It just makes it more, I don't know, it's just like you feel more connected to the person and you feel like you have a shared experience. So definitely I agree. When you come in as a student and you leave, you have a very large family. And for me, I think the advice that I have to give maybe is that it's important to acknowledge what makes you common or similar to other people, but you also need to lean on your differences, because I think for me, in my particular journey, it really helped me when I was able to find common grounds with people that were different from me in many aspects, but that also allowed us to connect on deeper levels and build relationships, long-lasting relationships. But at the same time, I always kind of knew what made me different and kind of try to nurture that. And so also don't be afraid to be different, to create your own path, because sometimes there is not just one linear way to do things. I think I've mentioned, I wanted to do this minor in South Asian studies and then couldn't do it. And so I kind of like had to go and see different ways that I could still gain that information and knowledge that I wanted to gain, but in a different structure. And I think maybe another bit of advice is to really embrace the journey and remember what your value is. because when you leave Glendon, you know, sometimes you are in this like loving bubble for most people, and then you leave and the real world might be a little bit different. And then, you know, I met so many people that find themselves into a customer service job, or they get stuck there. There's nothing wrong with customer service job, and there's nothing wrong with any type of job as long as you enjoy it or you do it for, you know, reasons that speaks to you. But sometimes it's so crushing when you have people, and I was one of those person. I left Glendon and, you know, was in a customer service job for a while, and you really have to remember all of the achievements and all of the failures and successes that you had even at Glendon that can like help you. You can leverage on that and realize that you've accomplished so much, so you are able to take yourself out of these like situations that are not maybe what was your original goal or aim. And so not to give up, I guess it's the advice. And one last thing, I think Ryan had mentioned that, but there's many ways to be part of the Afro or Black diaspora. There's many ways to be Black. There's many ways to be, yeah. And so when I started at Glendon, I came in my own way, and then through the interactions with others from the community, I also blossom and flourish in different ways. And then people that are not from the Black community also get to see the diverse group that we are. And so I think we need to take pride in that we are able to showcase the diverse way that we are. And that's why you should lean on your differences, and while you're still nurturing the things that make you common. And oh yeah, and I guess where you can, the project, well, I cannot wait for the book to be out, because this is this baby that is just has been there waiting to come out for too long. And I'm also a bit nervous also to have people read my words, but that's a big project that's almost done. And then once this is done, I am working on some online businesses that's always related to the world. I think Kevin has said like he has a big connection with words. I have the same connection with words, and I always talk too long, like right now, or I write too many words. And so this is my way to write and bug people in a different way. And so yes, the next week's project will probably have to do with words, mais ce sera sous forme de business, peut-être quelque chose relié à une papeterie en ligne pour faire des carnets ou des notebooks ou des mots sur des tasses, je sais pas, en tout cas toujours relié à la poésie et la philosophie du moment, des choses qu'on vit quotidiennement, et puis essayer de motiver les gens et de les inspirer à travers mes erreurs, bien sûr. Donc, c'est ça. Vous pouvez me trouver sur Instagram. Mon compte de poésie, c'est Mademoiselle Dark Matter. Voilà, c'est l'antimatière. Voilà.
Excellent. Well, and I am so full right now. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for your answers and all of the wisdom that we shared. So I appreciate every single second of it. Before we end, just there are some, there's a closing slide here, just to kind of share. Thank you again to our panelists, and you know, to our organizers as well that have made this happen. So register for BU. Make sure to check out the future students, learn more about the Black Excellence Initiative at York and at Glendon. There was an event a week ago that I had the pleasure of attending that was phenomenal, with some current Black students and their experience. So as we ramp up momentum on these projects, make sure to check it out. So that is for that. And we have now arrived at the end here of our session. So make sure to keep an eye out on all of the channels and social media. That's Glendon Liaison on Instagram, yorku.ca/Glendon, for all of you know, Glendon related questions or things that you would like to know. There's some cool upcoming events here that Antoine has shared. So make sure to not miss the March Break You set of activities. We are now at the end of time. Thank you to our audience as well. Appreciate your presence here. So yeah, and some love in there for our panelists. So thank you folks for sharing.
No problem.
C'est un plaisir, merci.
Anytime.
I will take you up on that.